Hey guys, what's up? It's Neonta Williams with Black Alabamians for Education, and we are here with another episode of The Advocates Chair. We are in 2026. Yay! Woo! God, we made it. It's a new year, I'm still a little, I told LaSharron I got on my, 6'7" pants. Like, I don't really know if I'm ready to be. No, I'm here. And it's not 6'7". It's all good. It's just a little fashion. LaSharron Harris,
Yes,
welcome.
Thank you so very much.
I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
I'm excited too.
Listen, you are coming to us as mom, educational advocate, and I'm going to let you take it from there.
Mom, educational advocate. So let's see. I've probably been in education now about 13 years. But my educational advocacy actually that was the foundation. I have a son who's 27. And so in high school, being a single parent, I was his biggest advocate.
Yeah.
So he has ADHD. So I kind of had to do some things differently than your basic parent, where I had to be very structured with things that he did and be very intentional.
We're going to get into that.
Okay.
We're going to get into that. But I'm so excited that I think you may be our first official mom that we're having here on the Advocates Chair. Just kind of, part of our goal, the purpose for this particular platform is to be transparent with the community, but also create this platform so that people can see that there are other folks out there who may be experiencing some of the same things that they are and how they navigated through those things, but then also using this as a vehicle to be transformative with information that can change their lives. And so I'm excited. We've known each other for 20 years now?
I think about 20 years.
Your story is so inspiring to be able to do what you've done with your son. And so but before we get to just kind of the impact that your advocacy had on your son's life and lives of other children, let's talk a little bit more about you. So can you share your educational journey and what inspired you into leadership? Like, what was your own personal journey like?
Well, let's see. Probably average student in high school. Went to Shays Valley. Really had no desire to go to college after high school. I was like, I just want to get a job, move out of my parents' house. And I had two wonderful sets of parents who basically told me no, that I was either going to go to the military, trade school, I was going to college. So didn't really think I was military type. Definitely didn't think I was a trade school type. So college was my option. That was my option. So I started off the summer of '88 at the University of Montevallo. I graduated from Shays Valley. Did not do well. Did very poorly. And so I had to come home. And so I went to Jeff State probably about a year, maybe, or 2 semesters. And by that time, I kind of got, I guess, the college bug. I really realized I wanted to be in college. So I came home, worked really hard, and went back to University of Montevallo. Stayed there. I got my bachelor's degree in social science and finished there. And that was kind of it. I was like, couldn't really find a job. Because I started off in pre-law and they changed the program, so I just ended up in social science. But I had a really great experience. At that particular time, I wanted to pledge. So, or to pledge, you had to have community service hours. And I did some volunteer work at Shelby County Emergency Assistance Center. And that experience showed me that whatever I did in my career, I wanted to help people. That was what I was designed for. That's what I got. That was my jam. That's what I got excited about. Nice. So after graduating University of Montevallo, I kind of went, a couple of jobs. I had YWCA and then went into retail. And was like, nah, this is not it. So I decided to go back to school. And so I said, like I said a few minutes ago, I want to help people. So I want to do counseling. And so I went to UAB and got my master's in counseling. Wow. So that's kind of where my journey was. And like, if you remember when I said I was kind of average student, I ended up graduating from University of Montevallo on the dean's list, which is a funny story because I thought they had gotten my grades wrong.
Oh, wow.
I even called the school and said, are y'all sure these are my grades? They were like, yes, it's Harris. But, from that, really realizing, okay, I can do it, education, I can do this thing. And so got my master's degree in counseling and kind of at that point, the rest is kind of history as far as my educational journey is concerned. I stopped there. Um, but I thought I had stopped there. I guess, like I said, I thought I had stopped there, but now I'm in the process of going and taking a couple additional classes that the state requires me for licensure. So
Wow.
I'm back in school this month of January.
Wow. And that's what we always think. I love that you share that you were an average student. I too I too was an average student in in high school. Upon graduation, I just knew I wanted to go to college. And so it was just like, whatever I need to do. But I feel like sometimes those students who are average, who are C, are the ones who have a tendency to excel because we haven't really fully pushed ourselves all the way to arrive at our potential. We've done just enough to get by, but we also understand what the struggle is like. But we're capable. And so somewhere in the middle, like, we were able to see our way through. And so that is so important. When you think about early influences in your life, who or what helped shape your commitment to others?
Ooh. Wow, that's a tough one. My family has always been very giving to the community, to those around them. I remember stories my grandmother told me about when her brother died and he died. He had like maybe 5, 6, 7 kids, something like that, and how she just immediately went into making sure they had something to eat. She had a garden at times, so they were constantly getting fresh produce and things like that. Anything that they needed, she kind of took the weight of her brother to assist his wife and her children. So I just come from a giving family, and I think that's probably my entire family, if I must say. They were the ones that kind of really instilled that giving part of me. I guess, yeah, would be my grandmother, the whole family.
Yeah. So that's your influence around, that helped shape your influence around giving. But is there anything that, but in addition to, is there anything that shaped your influence around education?
That would be my parents, both sets of my parents. They were really strong on education. Yeah. My dad, who's now deceased, well, both my dads are now deceased. Every summer when I go spend the summer with him, I had to go to the library. All of the books I had to read had to be by African-American authors. He would take me on tours like the White House, historic tours. So he was a big push during the summer. During the school year, my mom was like very focused on, my mom was like, you're going to study, so the education was like really, really pushed by both sets of my parents, my mom and my stepdad and my dad and my stepmom. So it was kind of like I would say, in circle with education. So they wanted to make sure that I had something that no one could take from me. And that was my education. And as long as I had a good education, I would be able to take care of myself. Yeah. So that was kind of their focus, and it became my mantra too with my child.
Yeah, that's good. Like I was going to, and I still am going to I want to dig around like those opportunities to visit DC and look at, and go to the library, read books, had to be African American. Like, why do you think your dad was sort of pushing you in that direction, or not pushing you in that direction, but encouraging you to know you?
Exactly. He felt it was important for me to know where I came from, and it was important for me to understand the contribution that our people have made.
Yes.
So that I don't think that we were less than as far as our contribution to this country. And my mom was the same way. My mom, she took us to museums and to the ballet and things like that. So she made sure that I was exposed to culture. So I got the off-Broadway plays, I got the symphonies, I got the ballets, I got the art museums.
Wow.
So I would say I had 2 sets of parents who were like a dynamic team. Yeah. One focused on culture as far as African American is concerned, the other focused on culture all around. So it really made me a very well-rounded kid. Yeah. Where a lot of my experiences, when I'd have conversations with other children, they had not had it that looked like me. Yeah. I was kind of like I guess, odd man out when I would talk with some of my experiences. and people would be like, oh, I've never done that, or that's not something we do, or along those lines. So both sets of parents worked really, really hard to make sure I was very well cultured, that I presented myself well, I spoke well, I behaved in a certain way. I had those cultural experiences, and I also know where I came from.
Yeah.
So, and very, very big on history, family history as well. So to just kind of know the roots that I came from and how important they were to me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. We are sitting here in 2026 with LaSharron Harris, and she is a mom and educational advocate. This is the Advocates Chair, and I'm Neonta Williams. We will be back. All right, Neonta Williams with Black Alabamians for Education and the Advocates Chair. Sitting here with LaSharron Harris. I always say sitting here like I'm not standing here. We're sitting here. I'm sitting here with LaSharron Harris. Phenomenal mom. Really love what you were just sharing about, both of your parents, your both sets of parents rather, and sort of how they were, I think, like this tide of clashing to make sure that you were getting everything you needed to get in terms of culture exposure, educational exposure, and confidence. And I think that, as you were speaking, I was just thinking about the whole impetus for Black Alabamians for Education. And we have 7 core values. And one of our core values is that we believe that Black children are inherently intelligent and talented. Mm-hmm. We believe that our children are born this way, and not just Black children, but all children. But we take pride in saying that about Black children. And so to hear that your parents worked in concert together to expose you and give you those opportunities, and then to see who you are today, and then you in turn have taken that and you're advocating on behalf of other students and families. It is it's just such a blessing. Like I think it's important that we know who we are, and of course whose we are. And so God is so awesome in all of His creation that He allows us to be who we are. And so I'm happy that you had that kind of upbringing. As you were speaking, I was smiling thinking about the things that my mom did to expose me. She, I have 5 brothers. She wanted a girl. I am the only girl. She tried everything under the sun to expose me to a lot of things. I don't recall any like off Broadway plays or plays like that other than outside of what was happening in school, but I definitely recall I was in ballet, I was in dance, she had me in tap, she had me in all the things, and I just wanted a basketball. But I was definitely exposed and understood, and so it culturally puts us in a place where we recognize that we are just as excellent as anyone else that we encounter. And I think that is a motivation for advocating on behalf of others. And so what would you say out of the work that you do now and you have done and your experiences has just kind of been like the switch really, really turned on for you? Like, even though you had those upbringings and those exposure opportunities, and you said you started out as a average child, and then you got into college, and then you realized like, oh, I like this, but maybe it was graduate school. Like, where did you start to pivot and say, wait, no, I am LaSharron Harris?
It was probably grad school. Because, like I said, average student, did not test well on standardized tests. So, of course, if you know anything about graduate school, you have to take the GRE to get in. And I dreaded that because I was not good with standardized tests. So my goal at that point was, if I get in I can get in, I'm shooting for probation. And so some people may think that's like a low bar. But for me, it was like, if I get in on probation, I can do the work. The work isn't the problem. It's just that I'm not very good with standardized tests. So my whole focus in studying was, I just need to get high enough score to get in. And that's what I did. I got a high enough score to get in on probation. And I can remember sitting down with my advisor, and she said, well, you're going to be on probation for a semester. I said, oh, I know that. That's not a problem. I said, I can do the work. I said, it'll just be 1 semester. And that's all it was, 1 semester. I got in and did the work, and became, got a real thirst for achieving what I was trying to accomplish. And so it was kind of no holds barred from that time. Did what I had to do. I went to school at night. I worked full time, and I did what I had to do to graduate, but it kind of didn't end out kind of the way I wanted it to. Like I said, I was working during the day and going to school at night, so pretty much busy 24/7. Well, I graduated. When I walked across the stage, I was also about 8 months pregnant. So there was a little blip on the radar in that process, which I think that made it even more important because I was about to be somebody's mom.
Yeah.
So I had to do my very best and accomplish this goal. So there was no quitting. There was no turning around. The pregnancy was not a derailment. It was probably a push that I had to go ahead and get this done. And so I graduated, I think it was like December of 1997.
Okay.
And my son was born January 5th, 1998.
Oh,
so right after I graduated, he came probably about a week later.
Yeah. That is a great motivation. I actually want us to, I want you now to, okay, so Christian is born, I'm just giving his name. Christian is born, and you're now mom, you're now super mom. Because I want us to get into what do you do now with parents around, education. We're talking about higher ed and how do students and parents go to school and try to do it for free. Yeah. So they're not in this economic bind, yes, that's the word, economic bind or setback. So what do we do today? What do you do today?
So a little background to lead up to that. So super mom, single mom. As I told you earlier, my family, everybody goes to college. You're going to college, that's what you're doing. So that was the goal for Christian, and being a single mother, I didn't have the money to send him to college. So I had to be very intentional once he got to the 9th grade about the things that he did. So I made sure that anything that he was involved in equated $1. When I say equated $1, would equate $1 in scholarships for college. So that was kind of my push. Everything's intentional, whether it's singing or acting or sports, whatever the case may be. We need to make sure if it didn't have $1 attached to it, we're not involved in it. Volunteer work to build academic resume. So it was a big push to try to get us in a position where he didn't have to owe any money.
And you did that. And Christian, you said earlier, he has ADHD.
Yes.
And so that's a caveat that, is important as you're sharing this part of your journey.
Yeah. So that was difficult because most people want to medicate kids with ADHD. I opted out of medication until he was about 15. So we had a very strict regimen. We were very strict on what we did, what he ate, and I kept him to a very strict schedule. It kind of got out of hand when he was no longer in middle school and he could kind of eat what he wanted to at school and those kind of things. So we then had to rely on medication. But he was at IB at Shays Valley, so it became both of us were in high school because I had to work really hard to keep him focused while he was there. But he did well. He graduated with a 3.1 GPA from IB, so he did really well. But in the process of that, keeping him focused and then, like I said, making sure that he was involved in things that equated dollars was the main goal. So once he finished high school, he decided to go to Tuskegee. If anybody knows anything about Tuskegee, it's a private HBCU, which is very, very expensive. So
they say, what do they say down there?
TU,
Bear, for Miles College. I'm just trying to
TU,
Miles College.
Of course, and I'm not advocate of HBCUs, which I wasn't before because, when you talked about my educational background, I went to PWIs. So the goal was to get him out of there debt free. And so with the intentionality that we had from the summer of his 9th grade, start of his 9th grade year until graduation, we were able to secure most of what he needed. So his total bill was $150,000 and he only owed back $25,000 to the government. Now that's for a master's degree because he has a master's in occupational therapy. So there were a couple of things on the front end when I was talking about being intentional and cutting costs because he was in IB. When he took the IB exam, that added up to college credit. So he went in with almost a year's worth of credit. So that was a year slashed off a 5-year program that he was involved in. So it was cost saving. So I do what I did for him with other parents. So when I sit down and talk to parents, I sit down and kind of really get to know the student to see what kind of things they're interested in, what their educational goals, career goals are, and then kind of sit down and work out a plan with the student and their parent. And that's the key. It takes the family. It's a team effort. And so if you know anything about kids, they're not going to sit down and do the research that's needed to find scholarships. They're not going to sit down and do everything that they need in order to get themselves ready for school. So it takes a family effort. So that means that when I talk to parents, I tell them this is not an easy process. It's a lot of research that you and your student will have to do, and a lot of intentionality. I found out what their talents are. What are you talented at? Are you playing ball? You're a cheerleader, or whatever the case may be. And then we start narrowing down some things, where they're thinking about going. And then the cost. Because, a lot of kids have dream schools.
Yeah.
But dream schools have a big price tag.
They do.
And so if you can't get a scholarship to the dream school, then let's see what we can get. And then let's weigh out the cost. Because if you're not getting 90% of your funding, then you may want to consider a 2-year. That way you can get 2 years out of the way. It's a lot cheaper. And then you can get a transfer scholarship. So we're still cutting costs. And that's what I recommend to a lot of parents. If they have a student who you're really looking at probably not going to be able to get a scholarship, maybe an average student like myself, do 2 year. But that's not just for average students. That's for straight A students as well. Because college is expensive. So if they're not giving you any money, then you need to look somewhere else. So it's just a lot of little things with planning, things that they should do with their school counselor, deadlines that they need to adhere to. So it's really a big roadmap, really, to help parents and students, because there's a lot of stuff that they don't think about. And they kind of think, okay, they're going to college and we're going to fill out an application. But there's a lot of work to be done those 4 years prior to even walking through the door of a college.
That is so good, guys. Listen, I hope you've been listening in, parents and audience. This is LaSharron. I'm not LaSharron. She's LaSharron Harris. I'm Neonta Williams with Black Alabamians for Education. This is the Advocacy Chair, and she's been dropping nuggets about how to cut the cost of higher education. So we'll be back. Neonta Williams with Black Alabamians for Education, and this is the Advocates Chair. We're here with LaSharron, and she's been dropping nuggets. So, Sharon, what keeps you grounded in this work? Like, what keeps you grounded and motivated in this work?
Let's see. Number one, we God. And I say God because you ask about my advocacy. Well, initially, it was just for my child. I had no idea, no thought process on doing it for anybody else. And it's probably been about 3-4 years now. I lost track of time. I just heard from God. He told me, I want you to do what you did for your son for other kids. And so I was like, okay. So that's what I started doing. So that kind of keeps me grounded. And also just the satisfaction of being able to see parents not get themselves into debt. The satisfaction of knowing that I helped someone make something a little bit easier. I remember helping a parent and a student. It's been some months ago. And it was a mom and a daughter. And we talked the session probably lasted about 2 hours. And her dad came in and we kind of did an overview of what we did. And he's like, Mr. Sharon, you figured out stuff in 2 hours that we've been trying to figure out in months.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, thank you. He's like, you got her so focused just in that short period of time. And I was like, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Because that was a goal. I mean, and so I've had a couple of sessions with them since then. But like I said, the key is a whole family working together. And you realize it's got to be sacrificed. So my excitement, my grounded spot is just making sure that they get all they can get. If you can get to school and you have limited debt, great. If I can help you come up with a plan and you have no debt, amazing. I'm super excited, super stoked about that. So that's what keeps me grounded, because school is expensive. I know our kids, a lot of us don't have the resources that they need, let me take that back. We have the resources. We just don't know how to tap into the resources.
How to access them.
So Um, my excitement, my groundedness is to just make sure that you access your resources, that you just don't let the resources pass you by, that you're talking to the people you need to talk to, you're doing the things that you need to do.
Yeah.
I have a nephew that I'm doing the same thing with now, and I stay on him by academics. I say, okay, we're looking at a particular GPA. Well, that's because he's decided where he wants to go. I only took him one place, and he was like, this is it, I'm going. I said, you don't want to see anywhere else? He said, no. So he's going to Tuskegee.
Well, he comes from a long line of Tuskegee.
Yes, my mom, my son. So he's going to Tuskegee. So,
but I love that though. I love that. We make jokes about it, but I absolutely love that. Like there, you keep that legacy going. You keep that in front of them. And he has definitely been going since he was able to walk, run around, and play on campus. So why not? Yeah.
And just keeping that, as I said earlier, a plan. So now that you've decided this is where you want to go, then what is it going to take to get there?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So it's going to take this GPA to get this scholarship. It's going to take this GPA to get this scholarship.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is it we need to do? And so now he stays on. It's like it's giving him a motivational push.
Yeah.
I mean, his grades are off the chart now. And he's like, I got that 3 point. I think he's like a 3.1 or 2 now. He's like, but they call me Tima. He said, Tima, I can get it up. I can get it up before I graduate. I said, okay, that's what we're working for.
Yeah.
He's like, because I'm not trying to go into debt for anything. I'm like, very good. So, but he's also, this is my baby that has ADHD. He has ADHD too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, that's a benefit too, whether people don't realize that, because vocational rehab of Alabama, they help students go to school as well.
Yep. It works in their favor. Yeah. That is awesome. So this is the Advocates Chair. I mean, that's no secret to you and the listening audience. So when you sit in that chair as an advocate, what do you hope your presence represents?
Ooh, that's a big one. Strength, determination, tenacity, and resilience.
I love it. Just like that.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Because I want every child and every parent that I interact with to be able to feed off of that and to know that there are no walls. There are no boundaries. We just knock them down.
Yeah.
We lift up the rock.
Yeah.
Pull up the tree.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes, clear the path. Just like elephants.
Yeah.
We clear the pathway to where we're trying to go. So, hey, you can do it.
Yeah.
There's no stopping you.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So, LaSharron, we really appreciate you being here with us today on the Advocates Chair. I would love for you to turn to that camera and tell the people any closing remarks, how to keep in touch with you, how to get in touch with you, and whatever else you'd like to say.
Let's see. Closing remarks would be that our children definitely are our future. I know that's kind of cliche, but as being an African American mom, it's really important that we invest in our kids. That's time, energy, resources. It comes at a sacrifice, but the payoff is amazing. And I think that my job here on the earth is to help. That's what I've been designed for. I'm here to be a servant. So my goal is just to continue to try to help students and their families get the best that they can out of education, whether it's trade school, it's you going to the military, whatever it is you want to do. Just being the best that you possibly can be and not having boundaries or walls to hold you back. Strong like an elephant.
Yeah, that's right.
And you can get in touch with me if you want to talk and want some assistance with your student at LaSharronH@gmail.com. That's LaSharronh@gmail.com.
Yay. So happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Yes. So guys, I'm Neonta. You guys know me, and this is the Advocates Chair, and we are excited about what God is going to allow this organization to do in 2026. And so as we kick it off with this amazing, phenomenal mom advocate, just a propeller into all things great. Fortitude is what she operates with. And so just absolutely appreciate what you're doing here in the state of Alabama for families and even outside. So I'm Neonta, and this is the Advocates Chair. Cheers to the chair, and we'll see you next time.